USS Tripoli strike group has been pulled from Pacific drills to join the fight against Iran, signaling how far Washington is diverting forces from its usual Indo Pacific focus. The redeployment of this F-35B armed warship risks giving China an opening around Taiwan, as one of the U.S. Marines' key sea-based air platforms leaves the Western Pacific. America's China war strategy is coming under strain as Iran keeps Trump's military on edge, forcing the U.S. to split high-end assets between deterring Beijing and sustaining combat in the Middle East. U.S. forces are reportedly changing strategy by shifting key warships to different regions instead of keeping them concentrated in the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. Navy has redirected the USS Tripoli amphibious ready group to the Middle East, pulling it out of its previous posture. The group left Western Pacific exercises to join combat operations against Iran, underscoring how active war demands are reshaping deployments. This highlights how quickly Washington is moving high-end naval assets away from the Pacific theater to meet immediate needs elsewhere. Details of these U.S. military movements were reported by Military Watch magazine, which tracked the redeployment and its implications. The Wasp-class amphibious assault ships are designed to carry F-35B fighters as a core feature of their aviation capability. F-35B jets can operate from ships like USS Tripoli, effectively turning them into light aircraft carriers for short takeoff and vertical landing strike missions. With up to 20 F-35Bs, plus MV-22 Ospreys and MH-60S helicopters, Tripoli can project heavy air power over sea and land. The ship provides fifth-generation strike capability even when a full-size nuclear-powered carrier is not available in the theater. While the F-35C is reportedly not yet deployed in large numbers on the Gerald R. Ford-class carriers, it has begun to appear in operational roles. F-35C fighters have been flown from USS Abraham Lincoln to conduct strikes against Iran in the current conflict. F-35Bs from USS Tripoli and F-35Cs from Abraham Lincoln together form a powerful combined air package for U.S. naval operations. Since 2022, the Pentagon has repeatedly stated that building up U.S. forces around China is its top strategic priority. Marine Corps restructuring has been centered on expeditionary operations in the Western Pacific to support that focus. The 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit was training with Japanese forces and practicing EABO concepts in the region. These EABO, Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations, concepts were specifically designed for possible fight with China's People's Liberation Army. Pulling these forces to the Middle East directly reduces the amount of ready U.S. power available in the Pacific theater. This shift makes clear how ongoing Middle East demands are draining resources away from Washington's planned China-focused posture. The war against Iran has compelled Washington to relocate many key systems and units out of the Pacific region. THAAD missile defense batteries were withdrawn from South Korea without prior consultation with Seoul. That move triggered controversy inside South Korea over sudden and unilateral changes to its defensive shield. At the same time, the U.S. Army also pulled MIM-104 Patriot systems and other important weapons from the area. Reports indicate that Patriot surface-to-air missile stocks in the region have been steadily drawn down for months. Because of this, the U.S.-Iran war has effectively eased strategic pressure on both Chinese and North Korean defense postures. Iran, despite heavy fighting, has managed to keep most of its key missile bases and arsenals intact. Even after 5 months of hostilities, Iran's overall ability to continue fighting remains largely undiminished. U.S. air defenses in the Middle East are no longer attempting to stop every Iranian missile or drone, shifting to a more selective interception posture. Commanders are practicing selective interception specifically to preserve limited stocks of expensive interceptor missiles. The policy prioritizes threats that could hit U.S. personnel, critical facilities, or key allied targets, rather than every incoming munition. If a missile or drone is headed for an empty area or an abandoned building, interceptors may be withheld to save ammunition. This approach has reportedly been used since the early days of the war against Iran, becoming a routine part of air defense planning. Such ammunition conservation practices are common in many militaries, but in this conflict they carry extra weight given the scale and duration of combat. The war is now in its 5th month, and concerns about U.S. ammunition and interceptor levels are steadily growing. One consequence is that some Iranian missiles and drones are still able to reach their targets instead of being shot down. In most such cases, these impacts occur at low-value sites or locations where no U.S. personnel are present. Officials say that in some instances bases were deliberately left to be hit when empty of troops, to conserve interceptors for more dangerous attacks. This marks a change from earlier practice, when almost all threats near U.S. sites were engaged whenever possible. Senior officials say they cannot fully confirm whether any unintercepted munitions have caused casualties under this approach. They acknowledge that the strategy carries real risks even as it helps save high-end interceptor missiles for critical engagements. Since the war began on February 28, U.S. bases across the region have suffered heavy damage from repeated Iranian attacks. U.S. Navy headquarters in Bahrain and Army facilities in Kuwait are among the hardest-hit sites in the current campaign. Reports also describe damage and casualties at American-linked facilities in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Iraq have likewise seen U.S. sites struck during Iranian missile and drone barrages. Preliminary estimates suggest that repairing and rebuilding damaged facilities across the region will cost billions of dollars. Donald Trump rejected reports claiming the U.S. was running low on munitions during the conflict, dismissing the assessments as inaccurate. Trump said the United States possessed far more munitions than any other country and more than it currently required. Earlier, the Wall Street Journal reported General Dan Kane had warned senior officials about declining U.S. air defense interceptor stockpiles. Meanwhile, Qatar and Oman discussed diplomatic efforts aimed at implementing the recently announced U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding. Qatar urged all parties to pursue dialogue and safeguard freedom of navigation through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. As diplomatic contacts resumed, Al Arabiya reported China worked with Pakistan to help revive U.S.-Iran negotiations. Axios reported that CENTCOM chief Brad Cooper also urged ending strikes around Hormuz after the campaign had reached its objectives. According to Axios, Cooper assessed that the operation had significantly degraded Iran's ability to conduct maritime attacks. Cooper reportedly said most designated military targets had already been exhausted during Operation Epic Fury, Axios reported. Without launching a broader new offensive, Cooper reportedly concluded that extending the bombing campaign would serve no meaningful military purpose, Axios reported.